Forsyth Families. This is Flo Valdez here with Forsyth Family Alliance. I'm sitting here with our state senator, Greg Dolezal. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate this very much. We just wanted to catch up with you, see what's going on at the Capitol. We've obviously just crossed over the crossover deadline, and the budget recently came out. And can you just fill us in? What are some of the bills that crossed over that might be some wins here for Forsyth Families?
There's a lot of bills. We have the largest state income tax cut that we're in the process of kind of moving in steps, and we accelerated that this session. We fully fund public education in this budget.
Awesome.
The governor fully funded the Georgia Promise Scholarship in this budget, and we really laid out some of our other priorities. We have some issues in the Georgia prison system, and we invested hundreds of millions of dollars in fixing those. And so the budget's a opportunity to really put your priorities forward.
Right.
And I think that this budget reflects the conservative priorities of the state. And it is the one thing that we have to do constitutionally. And we passed what's called the baby budget a couple weeks ago, and now we'll pass the big budget next.
Awesome. And in terms of education, there's a lot of bills that have come out for education. What would you say are the biggest wins for Forsyth Families under education bills?
So we have a lot of literacy work that we've been doing in the Senate. I saw a statistic a couple years ago that really caught my attention, that it was 38% of Georgian third graders knew how to read at grade level. Wow. And that was partially a result of COVID. You think about kids going to school in the masked environment or not going to school at all in a lot of districts. Thankfully, Forsyth County never shut down our schools for an extended period of time, but other areas in the state did. And so we are focusing on literacy. We're focusing on choices and options in education. The Georgia Promise Scholarship is a big piece of that. And we're looking at some different criteria around computer science and math to ensure that we're preparing today's students for tomorrow's jobs.
Awesome. Speaking of choice, there was an update to your bill, the Georgia Scholarship Promise, right? Or is that the right wording?
Yes.
What is that update, and how is that going to impact families?
So two things, actually. One is mine, and one is Senator Sean Still's. The bill that I'm carrying for Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones allows the adopted and biological children of foster parents to participate in the Georgia Promise Scholarship, which we think is a great way to say thank you to foster parents, and also to incentivize people to want to take care of the most vulnerable children in our society. And then the one that Sean Still has, that's a great bill as well, moves the children of active duty military members into the Georgia Promise Scholarship as a first option for them. And so those are a couple of small tweaks that we've made. The bill still has a cap in terms of expenditure, so it doesn't grow the program, but it just puts those families in as priority families.
Okay, that's fantastic. Speaking, still under the school bills here, school safety is obviously a big priority for parents. It remains a top concern for them. Can you tell us and shed some light on what the school safety bill is going to do as far as impacting our community?
So the House had a school safety omnibus bill that they passed out that's come over to the Senate. We've just started taking a look at that. Okay. I'm sure some of the House members can tell you more about it. I had a school safety bill, Senate Bill 61. They came about as conversations with Sheriff Freeman, Mitch Young, who's the superintendent, a couple of Forsyth County judges, and they described a couple different things as they currently exist in the system that make it hard for them to either prosecute a case or have the time they need to investigate a case or to get data on a student as a student is moving into the system. And so we had 5 sections of Senate Bill 61 that all came about as part of those meetings. That bill has passed the Senate. I think what's likely to happen is we'll merge some of the Senate ideas with some of the House ideas. You'll probably see one larger bill that ultimately comes out.
Okay, fantastic. I think parents are going to be relieved to hear that.
I think the other thing on school safety, if I can, the last 3 years, Governor Kemp in his budget has allocated tens of thousands of dollars per school for school safety. And last year in the budget, and this gets a little wonky, but it became part of the base budget. And what that means is rather than a one-time grant, it became something where we put a stake in the ground that said this is a value that we're going to fund on an ongoing basis.
Fantastic.
So schools have received about $140,000 per school for school safety grants over the last 3 years. We allowed them last year to use that money for post-certified officers, which, as you know, a campaign promise of Sheriff Freeman's was to put post-certified officers at every school.
Yes.
And I laugh looking back because at the time that was controversial. And people said he couldn't do it, it was a bad idea. There were all sorts of attacks on him when he ran for office. But 8 years later, we all, I think, are grateful for his vision to do that. And we're actually, like we do with a lot of things, taking that model that started in Forsyth and we're moving it around the state.
Right. I was just thinking that I'm very grateful that the leadership that you've provided, Sheriff Ron Freeman, even our school superintendent, I know that he's very committed to ensuring all of our kids are safe. So just know that families really appreciate what you guys are doing there in the Capitol as far as school safety. Moving into the more business realm, can you explain what this whole red tape rollback is and how that will impact families and business owners in our county?
Yeah, so what we've seen, just whether it's state government, local government, federal government, is left to its own devices. Government tends to layer on top of itself and get larger. And we went through this process with my family last year. My wife opened a hair salon here in the county, and it was difficult both on the state and county level to move through the process. And this is coming from somebody who's inside the government apparatus. So what we want to do is make sure that it is as easy and seamless as possible to start a business in Georgia, to grow a business in Georgia, and maintain a business in Georgia. And part of the way we do that with the red tape rollback is to say we're going to do a spring cleaning, if you will, on every government regulation, on every rule, make sure that the rule is meeting its intended purpose, and also that it's the least burdensome way to meet that purpose. And so we're requiring these agencies now under the bill every 4 years to do that spring cleaning process. We also have a process by which the legislature, if there's a big rule that comes in, the legislator actually has to ratify that. Because what we don't want is unelected bureaucrats that you and your family will never meet to be off in some office somewhere making decisions that make it harder for you to open a business. We want you to be able to come and yell at me if we do that. Right. And so we think that's moving the government rulemaking closer to the people, and by having the elected representatives actually ratify these larger rules that we identify a large rule in the bill is one that costs over $1 million to comply with. Wow.
So it's like a Doge for
some people are calling it Georgia does Doge. We tried to pass this last year. Actually, we did pass it on the Senate, and it was called the Small Business, I forget even what we call it, the Small Business Act of 2024. This year it's red tape rollback. Lieutenant Governor, who's been working extensively on this, has labeled it Georgia does Doge. I have said it's in the spirit of Doge. It's functionally different, but it recognizes the government needs to be kept in check. Yeah. And that's just a fundamental conservative ideal that we're going to put into our statute.
Love that. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to kind of bring to light, share with the community as far as what you're working on personally? Maybe some things that you're not working on that could potentially be positive for our community. Maybe some things that could be negative for our community. Anything that you want to add to our legislative update meeting?
I love that second part of the question because there's a lot of things that do come in that we take a look at. So we're in this year of red tape rollback, but there's a lot of regulation that has passed, either the Senate or the House. And so what we're looking to do is to make sure that we put a stop on some of those things that may come from a good place, a good intention, but ultimately has downstream consequences that may be unintended. There's a lot of that happens with any law, whether it's state or federal. A bill that I'm really, really excited about is a bill that we have, Senate Bill 31, that we just moved into a House bill, but it eliminates all income tax on military retirement income.
Wow, that's awesome.
We've got about 100,000 retired military veterans in Georgia. We're one of about 10 states in America that actually levies an income tax on their military retirement. And I think we're gonna be able to get that done this year to where we pull that back. Second thing that we're working on actually comes about from conversation with your husband and a number of other school board members around the state. And this is interesting. Right now, Georgia Code has kind of picked out Board of Education members and said, we are going to require you to get annual training. They're the only elected officials that have to get annual training.
Interesting.
Mandated by law. I had no mandated training.
Right.
County commissioners do it once per term when they get elected. We're going to move the Board of Education members to the cadence of county commissioners to where they have annual training once every 4 years. But here's the bigger piece of this. What we heard from these training processes was that the Board of Education members who get newly elected, you're excited to go in and make your mark on your community, and your citizens voted you in. And they end up at this new training, and it's done by a statewide organization oftentimes, and they are told something along the lines of, you're not the expert, your superintendent is. You know, it's a really bad look if you disagree with your superintendent in public.
Right.
Or it's a really bad look if you even disagree with your fellow board members. So why don't you go behind closed doors, sort things out, and always vote unanimously, because that's a good message to your community.
Right.
And so what that does is it actually stifles good public discourse. And so what the bill also does is it puts guardrails around what these newly elected Board of Education members can be trained and what they cannot be trained. And to me, this is a sleeper bill, because it's not a bill that's going to reach like a headline of any newspaper, but it is a bill that I think fundamentally helps the education process and helps Board of Ed members be autonomous and free thinking and not be told what they have been told over time, which is basically go be a house plant and be a figurehead, as opposed to an actually functioning member of a board.
Right.
When you think about locally, it's a $100 million entity, you know, a $700 million entity, I think, our school system. And so if you're on the board of directors of that school system, we want the best and the brightest. And the worst thing in the world that we can do if we elect the best and the brightest is to then strip them of their ability to speak into the issues. So that's Senate Bill 4. Looking forward to getting that moved through the House as well.
Thank you very much for that. I have one last section, if you don't mind, if you indulge me here for a moment.
I will.
I have some trivia for you, and if everybody's still watching, we can see how smart our state senator is.
Trivia. Okay.
Yes, it's
All right.
American history trivia, okay?
Do not judge me on this, let me tell you.
This is good, though, I promise. I think you're going to get it. All right, Senator. So, who was the first U.S. president to live in the White House?
I have no idea. John Adams.
Very good.
I was going to say something crazy like Jimmy Carter or something like that.
No, you were absolutely right. Very good. I'm very proud of you. He's actually also our second president in history. Most people know the first. They always forget who the second and third and fourth. Yeah. So, okay. You want to go double or nothing?
What are the stakes? What do you have? A glass of
I'm going to
water.
gift you this wonderful mug that I got here, because I feel like it's very representative of who you are.
Fair enough.
All right. So the last one is, and I'm going to read it because I want to make sure I don't butcher this. There is, so our state has had 3 different cities to serve as its capital. Can you name all 3?
I don't think I can. I do know that one is Savannah, and I do know that one is Atlanta. What's the third one?
It is Augusta.
Oh,
yes.
Is that the capital because of the tournament? And we're just like, we're going to have a golf tournament in Augusta.
I have no idea.
And that becomes I will tell you a funny thing is that the General Assembly schedule, so we have 40 days and we start in January.
Right.
And there are some people who work really hard to plan that schedule so that we're out by the Masters Week.
Oh,
and that
goodness, that's funny.
That is a high priority for some of my friends. And so I would say
I understand. It's nice weather already at that point.
For at least 1 week a year, Augusta still is the capital.
That's so funny. Well, at least, with all the representatives there, I imagine.
Yeah.
So what day are we in as far as the legislative session? Are we on day?
I think 31.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, that is,
I will tell you, Carter Barrett was in my office the other day, and I just come out of a meeting with the OPB director talking about the budget, and I had all this budget stuff in my hands, and Carter and I were talking about a bill, and I'm just like, man, this is the most fun part, because stuff starts moving fast.
Right.
Stuff starts getting pulled out and put into bills, and it moves at a rapid pace. I know you and some friends were down at the Capitol, I think on crossover day.
Yeah, yep. We were there.
And that's like my second favorite day, because that's another day where stuff's moving really quickly, and I don't know, if you were in the chamber for 15 minutes, we probably voted on 3 bills.
Yeah.
And stuff's moving quick. So,
you guys moved very fast compared to the other side.
Yes.
But I think you guys had probably less bills that you had to go through, right, compared to the House.
I would assume so, just because we have 3 times the amount of members.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Well, thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate you catching up with us. We will keep an eye on what's going on down at the Capitol, and hopefully we can put something together, a post-legislative session, and just see what how everything fell into place, and see.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Very cool.
it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Yeah.